Hello, welcome back again. We're getting towards the end of this series looking at the cane, and one of the things we haven't looked at is the actual hooked part of a cane. Normally we tend to use these straight canes like Michael has here. The reason for that is simply when I find people start, what they tend to do is they hold the cane here, and as they train, the hand slides round and the cane just gets into a weirder and weirder position. So I tend to avoid these until people are quite comfortable with how to use a cane and not squeezing it so tight that it keeps moving around all the time. So obviously, once you're comfortable with that, you can use a cane this way around and it functions exactly the same as a straight cane would do, which is all very exciting and that, but it's not really what I want to look at today. I want to look at actually using this cane. There is some stuff, particularly in more karate-based kind of things, where they tend to use the cane kind of down the arm in this direction, and it's used very much as a punching tool. Not really something I've spent a lot of time looking at. So again, I'm not really going to talk on it, but it is something that exists. The main way I'm going to look at this is using the cane this way with the hook here. Now, of course, there's nothing to stop me if Michael's in guard as normal, coming in and just attacking with the cane. Yeah, he still has to block that or he gets hit, because this is still perfectly capable of doing damage. But we need to look at what it is we can do with the hook that we can't necessarily do with other things. One of the things we're going to quite often use is use our high-low technique to get in against our opponent. So by that I mean I'm going to attack high, Michael's going to block, I'm going to step in and control that elbow. From here I can use the hook rather than striking. So one of the standard ones will be behind the knee and actually pull my opponent off balance, because I can push and pull until he falls over. Equally, I can hook that behind the neck and start to control across the body. Yeah? So I have options about how I want to use the hook in that way. So that's one of the things we're going to use it for, is kind of hooking limbs, and that can be done in other situations as well. So for example, if Michael's coming in with a strike here, I can take a block as I would do normally, control, and then look to take the elbow, and again just tie him up, and now I've actually started to get him into a lock from that position. So I can use it, as I said, to control limbs quite a lot. The other thing that I can do with it is use the hook to temporarily bind his cane. Now I don't mean I'm going to try and twist it and actually lock it in this way, but what I mean is, normally if I was to knock that cane out the side, it's only going to move a little bit. Whereas if I can actually hook and flick, it's going to move a long way out of the way, opening up a much bigger gap. So I can use this to actually hook and control all the way up, rather than just a point of impact. I can take a lot more, that's a really bad example, I can take a lot more control over where my opponent's cane is actually going. So I can use the hook in that way as well, almost a bit like a beat, in terms of I can pull it and sink in very quickly. Those kind of options. I can also use it as a follow-up to an attack. So if I was to attack high, I can then use that to pull his block out of the way once he's made it. In fact, I can do that on any side. Again, if I attack across here, I have that option just to pull things out of the way and then come in with my strikes here. So it's quite a useful tool that allows me to just do a little bit of hooking and stuff, but I've got to be very careful it falls within the normal flow of things. I don't want to, for example, try and hook the leg, because I've just done that attack to the leg that I've said we should never do, and I'm going to get hit in the head. I don't want to be trying to hook the hand here, because whilst I'm hooking the hand here, I'm eating the end of their cane. So it's got to flow in with still keeping myself defended. So I still need to keep my hand up, and I still need to make my attacks normally to bring things out. There are other things we can do with a hook cane, and this is going to build in a little bit more to what we're going to start looking at next week, where we build it in to other aspects of fighting as well. So one option we've got, actually, if you drop your cane for a minute, actually just drop it, I'm not going to do unarmed. So examples of things that I can do if I've got a cane where we're in this kind of, I have a cane and they don't, and I've decided that I'm not going to use this just to break them from a distance. It could be maybe they were just too close when everything kicked off. But I have options, so when that, for example, a fairly standard opening salvo would be a straight cross, so I can quite happily block the straight, and then as the cross comes in, I can step and look to get that straight behind my opponent's neck to pull down into my knee. I'll show you from the other side, because I think I've lost a lot of that there. So again, punch comes in. Oh, I went. Sorry. No, sorry. No, it's my fault for going the wrong way. So from there, I can block. Sorry, yeah, if you're doing the lead there, sorry. Bump behind, and then from there, I can use that pull down into a knee there. So I've got those kind of options where I can start at. Also looking at things like where my opponent grabbed me. You use a double hand grab if you want. Yeah. From here, I can start using the cane in order to actually start extracting, you know, myself from this situation. So I can pass it across. I can use one hand largely to stop him headbutting me, which is what I fear from this situation. If my hand is here and he has to headbutt my fingers into his eyeballs, he'll probably not do it. But meanwhile, I can hook the cane here and move it around until such point as he lets go. Yeah, and then I can go ahead and go back to where we were a second ago. So I can start using this in close in these kind of ways. As well, another fairly standard one would be if attack coming in from one side here, I can take that as a cross. I'm going to hit the stomach, pass between the legs, and then range through. So I can go from relatively nice controlling tactics right up to quite devastating attacks, all just using the hooked part of the cane. So it's worth bearing in mind that it is part of the syllabus, but mostly it's one we don't tend to use until people are familiar with the rest of it. So next week we're going to finish things off by looking at how we combine this a bit more with Savate and pugilism, and that will really bring us up to the end of what we're going to be covering in this run through of cane. So thank you very much, Michael, and we shall catch you guys next week.